Welcome back, everyone. Toy Shiz here, and we are back yet again for another McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse video. We have quite a few figures to talk about today. I wasn't going to make each individual video. These are basically figures we have talked about in some way, shape, and form. Nothing is really all that new, just FYI. So you already kind of know the articulation scheme, but we'll just have some fun. We'll sit back, we'll relax, and just kind of look these over. I'll give you my thoughts and opinions, and we'll just have fun. Because as I looked into the corner of my office, I was like, wow, these are starting to stack up. Let's get something going here. So with that being said, we'll kick it off with the Red Hood motorcycle. So this was on a little bit of a sale. I believe this was at Amazon. Really had no thoughts, opinions about this. In hand, though, thoroughly impressed. You got a little Batman symbol right there on the back. It does have the tire stopper right there. It's a nice display stand, so it keeps it upright at least. And both tires do rotate. The front part rotates. You can see the engine and the doodads and all the other parts that make up this crotch rocket for Red Hood. So, in all honesty, well, it wasn't necessarily something that was ever on my radar. It's actually pretty cool, and I could see a lot of people using this for, obviously, Multiverse, 6-inch figures, 7-inch figures. It just all kind of depends on what's going to fit. So we'll put this Red Hood on there, and I would say it's a little bit too long, I guess you would say, for this Red Hood, for everything to kind of fit with the DC Multiverse articulation. You see how far he is away from the seat, kind of getting both legs up. It's just kind of a toss-up. So that being said, he does look okay on it, although it's not really going to be beneficial, let's say, for this Red Hood, but there's 1,000,001 DC Multiverse figures to check out and try them out for yourself. But that being said, if you have this Red Hood and you put him right next to this bike, yeah, that looks pretty darn cool if you ask me. So moving on from vehicles, of which there is only that one, we will start with Guy Gardner. This is his traditional old school Green Lantern outfit. Originally, when we looked at the 90s version of Guy Gardner, the Yellow Lantern, I didn't really care for what they did with the ears. It's still on this figure, everything else. The green is nice. The paint is overall nice. So yes, it is kind of sort of the outfit. You can swap out the face plates. He has multiple face plates, just like the other Platinum Edition one. He also has multiple hands as well. So in that sense, you get to kind of pick and choose what you want your Green Lantern Guy Gardner to look like. And then, of course, what I think is the best aspect, but not fully realized in many ways, is that you can swap the hair. So you can go from bowl cut to then the more modern spiked up hair, even though that really doesn't apply to the costume that he's wearing. So it's a mixed bag in that sense. However, if you want another Green Lantern for your Green Lantern army, yeah, it's not a bad looking Guy Gardner. Then we have Manga Batman right here. And this is one that I've had for quite some time. Just never got around to it. Never found the Platinum one either. It was more of a black and white. I love the colors on this guy. I love the grays that they've chosen. It's a very muted gray, and then he has a little bit of a lighter tone blue-gray and the white accents on the boots and the gloves. The belt is really cool. I like the emblem. He looks very Japanese Batman, and that's really all that matters. I like the white eyebrows as well. That really makes him pop. Another great aspect about this Batman is the accessories that he comes with. Things you see in the comic book, Bat gadgets, things of that nature. So in that sense, it's a nice attention to detail. And let's say if you have this Robin, which is Dick Grayson, but it could also be Jason Todd, which that's what I called it. A couple people lost their minds at me, but you get the idea. This hairdo for this Robin kind of sort of fits with the Manga Batman. So yeah, definitely check it out. And through, it's just overall a nice Batman figure. So this one I highly recommend if you're after him. And perhaps you would like to pick any of these DC Multiverse figures up from Entertainment Earth. You go up in the little search bar, you put in DC Multiverse. They have pre-orders. They have things that are in stock. Lots of stuff. Yes, the prices went up because of tariffs. Yeah, thanks for that. But go and check them out. Guarantee you'll find something there that you like. So moving on, we have Captain Cold. This is the platinum version of Captain Cold. It's more of his Super Friends look, the old cartoon animation. He's all blue this time around, and they've darkened the blue on the costume. This was one that I was definitely after. I like that they changed the color of the gun as well, so everything kind of works for me with this. I really like the standard version of Captain Cold, but this one, for the more Silver Age, old school retro look for my villains, of which you'll soon see, yeah, this definitely works, and he has the multiple swap out face plates. So if you have the likes of the Joker, Penguin, Riddler, I do have Two-Face on the way, so stay tuned for that. But I just like the look of these old, campy, colorful villains, and they all go nicely together. So this is another one that I would highly recommend if you know what this is, if you like that whole retro look, the colorful aspect for your villains. Next up, we have Dark Flash. So this is a 90s Flash. This is kind of a alternate Earth Flash that comes into the main DC universe and kind of replaces Wally West for a little bit. I'm not too familiar with the storyline. I did talk to a few friends of mine that were overjoyed at the fact of this figure. In hand, he is pretty cool looking. I like the head portrait. He does get very diaperish, unfortunately. He really would have benefited from some extra hands as well, since he's a running character. He really doesn't have any running hands, but he does have some running effects, of which we have definitely seen with all the speedsters in the past. When you have Dark Flash, and then we're just going to call this Wally West for now. But yes, those look pretty cool together. And if you're a fan of the 90s comic book of which he hails from, yeah, this is a great pickup, but he's just kind of okay, right? That's where I'm at with this one. We also have the Platinum Powergirl. This is another one where I just saw it in store. I go, okay, we'll just get it. We'll talk about it. She has the red jacket, has the Superman logos all over it. This is the more modern-ish take for Powergirl, and I know we all thought at the same time, oh man, this is a great Power Girl, and oh man, this is really cool. She comes with Streaky the cat, of which this version has all red eyes, so just keep that in mind. But the Power Girl, as we all found out once we had her in hand, is that she is too large. She's a humongous figure. And this one also has the red eyes, of which if you have both Power Girls, you could swap the heads if you'd like. Just to show you the scale, which she should be the same height as Supergirl. So she's way too tall. She's like an Amazon. From far away, if you just have Power Girl, sure, she's great. But they really goofed on this one. It was so disappointing when I got it and I saw it. I go, why is she so big? This is an immense figure. So yeah, nah, pass on this one. Then we have Dr. Fate. I could not be more stoked to have this version. This is the standard version, believe it or not, right? Usually that's reserved for platinum, gold labels, and the whatnots. Yellow and blue. That's the name of the game. Very comic book looks for Dr. Fate, of which I absolutely love. Again, this would have benefited so greatly with extra hands, spell casting, magic effects, something like that. And then little aspects of the boots would have been great. Little paint apps like he has on the belt. Bendy wire cape, which is fantastic. And then you got the helmet of Nabu. So everything looks fantastic. You can kind of get your old school Justice Society going. You can put him with the Spectre. The sky's the limit. Although I will say, these two look really cool. I love just the old school DC Comics-ness of this. And then, as I am a huge Superman the Animated Series fan, you can team him up with Superman and they can fight Karkle. And yeah, that's what makes me happy. So the bright colors of DC Comics thoroughly represented by old Kent Nelson here. So definitely grab yourself a standard Dr. Fate, along with a very Rann vegetation Swamp Thing. Burning, itching Swamp Thing, right? That's the name of the game here. Well, if you don't know Swamp Thing all too well, Alan Moore's run kind of finished up with Swamp Thing dying, quote unquote. He gets kind of transferred across space and time. He ends up on various planets like Rann here. You can see all the vegetation all over him. They've repurposed the prior release Swamp Thing, so he's going to be this humongous figure. How they've repurposed him It's okay-ish. I'm glad they made this figure. We'll just say it's kind of a, whoa, what is going on here? But if you know the comics, yeah, you'll definitely be into this guy. You get minimum articulation in the head. It's a very large head, but again, he has all these little space pineapples all over him. And then the paint only goes to the thighs and parts of the arms and then parts of the foliage that's all over him. So lacking in a paint wash for that yellow really would have gone a long way. He also has extra hands. That's a nice aspect, but he's still very janky in the legs. He just topples over every 2 seconds. However, that being said, he does look great with his comic book counterpart of Adam Strange. If you go back and read that old Alan Moore comic, you'll know exactly why these two pair up perfectly. So through and through, it's not necessarily going to be for everyone. If you're a Swamp Thing fan, he's definitely different. He's very unique. He's still that big, huge, clumsy Swamp Thing, but I love him. I think he is pretty darn cool. Moving on to the Croc versus Grim Knight 2-pack. This is definitely a pack that I got because I wanted the Croc figure, but you do get the Grim Knight. He's a bit of a redone, repainted, reportraited Grim Knight. You can see all the guns and everything. This is a lot of people's favorite looking Batman with all the guns. The guns thing doesn't do it for me. I do like that they've added some extra paint apps here and there, but it really didn't go far enough. 5 steps there, and then if they got another 5 steps, they really would have done a great thing. You could pull the guns off. That's where some extra paint, like around the straps, that would have been great as well. But it's really just a matter of, do you like the Grim Knight? Are you a fan of the Dark Multiverse? Everything that happened a few years ago in the comics. This is supposed to be a 2-pack in a what-if situation in this Grim Knight's reality of Batman hunting down the villains. This would be the final showdown where he actually takes on Killer Croc. So think of it in that sense. But through and through, while he does have some old antiquated McFarlane articulation, he's okay, but I'm just not into the Batman with guns thing. But I know that's really a thing for a lot of you out there. However, that being said, I'm a huge fan of what they did here with Killer Croc. I was not a fan of the Arkham Asylum. I thought that was going to be the only Killer Croc we're going to be getting. This is a lot more in the vein of Croc, although I do wish he was smaller, right? It doesn't always have to be a big, burly Killer Croc, but we got what we got here. He has his Jimbo Jones cord belt right there. He's got his pants. He's very Crocodile Manned out. You can have him going up against Bane, get into a tussle while they're fighting in front of Robin. All of that Nightfall nonsense. But I will tell you this. I love the head portrait. I think that that's fantastic. I totally thought that the jaw was going to move on this guy. Sadly, it does not. But I do love the teeth, the eyes. Everything is painted very well. But one aspect of this figure I cannot stress enough is that you're going to have to heat him up in all aspects. From the elbows to the knees, he is very stuck overall. But once you get him going, it'll be fine. The other villains, let's say Two-Face, Deadshot, Killer Croc, he's a great addition to your Batman DC Multiverse villains. And then to put him next to a very blue and gray Batman, he will overshadow Batman. But I guess that's what you would expect for Killer Croc at this point. But through and through, like I said, while I'm not a fan of the Grim Knight, and yes, you have to get the 2-pack to get this Killer Croc, he's definitely worth it for me. So that's going to wrap it up for my quick roundup of a ton of prior released and some new DC Multiverse figures by McFarlane Toys. Again, if you need any of these where applicable, I'll put links down in the description below for Entertainment Earth. Definitely check them out. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. There are so many DC Multiverse figures hitting, and it's always kind of a toss-up at this point where they're really going to go. They say one thing, it goes to another. They say, oh, it's a pre-order, it doesn't go up. It's a whole mess. But I will tell you this, take a deep breath, don't worry, stay on it as best as you can, but don't freak out, don't worry. Eventually, if you are vigilant, you will get the figures that you're after. So I want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. And until the next one, I will leave you guys with that. Adios.